Initially, when the season of Arrow began, I had planned to do a review on it when it was done, hoping that it would fix some of the mistakes the series made during Season 3. Sadly, I don't feel this was the case. Now, before I really begin this video, let me just say I am a huge Arrow fan. Now, there are a lot of people hating on the show, really now more than ever, and I just want to say, with this video, I'm not trying to make another rant video, just kind of hating on this season of Arrow and the show overall, saying, hey, I'm not going to watch it anymore, because I love Arrow. It was one of my favorite shows. In fact, Season 1 and 2 of Arrow were some of my favorite seasons of any TV show. Which is why everything I'm going to say in this video is pure constructive criticism, so that hopefully Mark Guggenheim and the writers can see what the fans aren't liking about Arrow right now, so that they can fix that going into Season 5. In that, I'm going to be addressing some of the major plot points in Arrow Season 4, as well as the series as a whole. So this is kind of your spoiler warning right now. Normally I'd say something along the lines of, go watch Arrow Season 4, then come back and watch this video, but I don't really want to waste your time by telling you to go watch a bad season of a good show. So the first thing really on the agenda to address right now is Felicity. Now, back in Season 1 and Season 2, I loved Felicity. She was kind of the wisecracking character who kept that humor into the kind of what the darkness was of Season 1. Adding the kind of inappropriate jokes, well, inappropriate in the situation jokes, and kind of lightening some of the moods that otherwise would be Dark Knight level of darkness. But ever since Season 3, she has become kind of a whiny love interest for Oliver, who has become, in fact, a bigger character than the Green Arrow himself on the Green Arrow TV show. Heck, some of the biggest story arcs this season was about Felicity. Pure Felicity. And I was never a fan of Felicity as a whole, and I just don't believe that that's the right way to treat the Felicity character. And with all the attention they're giving to Felicity and Oliver as a couple, they're taking away from the good characters of the show. Example A, getting rid of Roy Harper in Season 3. That was the first big mistake that I really saw in Season 3, aside from the whole treatment of Ra's al Ghul and the deaths of Oliver Queen. And now with what they did with Laurel. I'm going to get to that later, because I have a lot to talk about with the treatment of Laurel in this show as a whole. But I'm going to save that for later. Just remember, Laurel, that's another example of the treatment of characters of the show outside of Felicity. They're giving all their attention to Felicity, to where now even Oliver is a support character in his own TV show. Let's even bring up Captain Lance for a moment, because the moment Laurel died, I knew that that character would have to go with her in the show terms. Maybe not the character actually dies, but the character's use and purpose. Because he was mainly there because Laurel was there. Now that there's no Laurel, and he's not even a detective anymore, he doesn't even really have a part in the show anymore. And now Diggle, he's going to re-enlist, and then even Sia, who's the Mia Dearden Speedy, which I don't like nearly as much as the Arsenal, because there are a lot of stories they could have done with Arsenal. It's all very poorly done, poorly executed. They're getting rid of characters who still have a lot of story left in it, and in return the characters who don't really have much story, they're dragging out as long as possible. And now the flashbacks. I basically zoned out the flashbacks this season. The flashbacks in Season 1 and Season 2, they were good. They served an overall purpose to the show. It kind of showed you where he was then and how it relates to where he is now, mindset-wise. But now with the whole transformation of the character, it doesn't line up. And they could have gone the route of him getting kind of lighter and more hopeful in the show and getting darker and darker and darker there. But it's not lining up with where he started before and where he is now on the island in the flashbacks. It doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, they're getting really boring and dull and pointless. This season, the flashbacks served little to no purpose. In fact, I would have been happier, honestly, if there were no flashbacks. Because I feel these flashbacks only pulled down on a show that can barely hold itself up as it is. Because in Season 2, they really meant a lot. It showed you the character development of Deathstroke to show you why he was so angry at Oliver and why he needed his revenge. You didn't get that this season. You didn't get that in Season 3. It didn't work. The only thing in Season 3 that was cool was the Oliver torture scene, which you didn't even see him torture the one guy. You just saw the aftermath of it. And the villains. The villains are going downhill. I like the actor who played Damien Dark, but Damien Dark still wasn't a good pairing to put up against Green Arrow. You have this godlike villain going up against a guy with a bow and arrow. And even all season long, it's like Damien Dark could kill him by flicking his finger if he wanted to. But he doesn't. He lets him get away on purpose, basically, time and time and time again. It's like making Doomsday the main villain in a Batman show or something. Ultron, let's say, or Thanos as the main villain in a Black Widow show. It just doesn't work. In Season 1 and Season 2, you had the personal connection to the villain. You saw the motives. You saw the motives for why they wanted to do what they did. Season 1, you saw the reason why Merlin wanted to destroy the Glades. And it was kind of to the point where you could side with him going, well, I see why he wants to destroy the Glades. It kind of makes sense. And in a similar predicament, I might make a similar decision. Whereas this season, it's basically, Damien, I'm going to destroy the world. Why? Because why not? It just doesn't make very much sense. I know there's a little bit more reason behind it, but still, even at the end where he's like, my wife is dead. If she's dead, everyone else can die with him for all I care. It just didn't line up, and even the threat he pulled with Felicity, saying, hey, help me destroy the world or I'm going to kill your mom. And Felicity even brought up the point. You know if I help you destroy the world, my mom dies anyway, right? It didn't make sense with that villain. I feel like they could have picked a much better villain for this season, especially with Deathstroke in Season 2 being such a personal villain. His basis was he was going to tear Oliver apart. Taking over the city, that was a small piece of it. The main thing was to break Oliver mentally, which in this season you totally miss out on. And I think they need to get away from the villains who are like, I'm going to destroy the world or I'm going to destroy the city, and go back to the more lower scale villains that Arrow should be up against, to where it's like, I'm going to destroy you mentally and break you and those around you who you love. And now we're going to address the Laurel deaths, because I have a lot to talk about that. Season 4, obviously, it was going downhill. It went Season 1, Season 2, and then 3 and 4 have been going downhill ever since. That arc was going down anyway. The thing that escalated it, though, was the death of Laurel, because Laurel was one of the best characters on the show, as well as she's what should have been Oliver's endgame. She should have been the character who was set up so that I hoped in the final season, or even the final episode of the series, it ends with Laurel and Oliver getting married. But no, they totally shit on that in this season by killing off the biggest character in the Green Arrow mythos. You don't do that. And I was watching another video, and they brought up the good point. That's like having a Superman show, and in Season 4 of possibly 7 of the series, they kill off Lois Lane to have Superman go out with an IT girl. It just doesn't make sense. And I get that they don't want to stick too close to the comic books. But even if you do that, you still have to respect the source material, because the fans, that's what they grew up on. Otherwise, while you may make something good that if it was a no-name brand, the fact that it could have been this is what the fans are looking at. And right now, you could have had Black Canary and Green Arrow together as a married couple, or at least a dating couple, but in return you went with the Felicity show. A show about Felicity and her mom, essentially, where Arrow's a supporting character. And on that same note, they're trying to adjust this, but they still haven't found that right beat of getting to that Green Arrow level. They finally gave him the name Green Arrow, but he's still very distant from the real Green Arrow. And it was cool Season 1 how we got the hood, and then the arrow, and now the Green Arrow, but honestly, he's still not the Green Arrow yet, and he's very far from it. Green Arrow, he's a very wisecracking character with all of his trick arrows, and we haven't seen anything like that really yet. We've gotten the occasional trick arrow once every season, but not nearly to the extent that fans are wanting. As well as the wisecrackiness. That was Felicity's job in Season 1, Season 2, which, I mean, I was kind of okay with, because at least it was on the show, and maybe that was getting Oliver to the point where he could kind of be a more wisecracky character eventually, but now, Felicity's a whiny character, and we have no real wisecracky character like the Green Arrow should be. And in the description, I'm going to link you to a video. This is a, I want to say Warner Brothers DC little short film about the Green Arrow. It's about 5 minutes, maybe. But the personality of the Green Arrow in that short film is exactly what the Green Arrow should be. And the relationship with him and Black Canary is what Green Arrow and Black Canary should have been and could have been. And again, my biggest problem with the Laurel death is there's almost no way to recover from it. And it's a big thing that just devastated the show now when it comes to ratings and the fans' opinion of it. Let's say they bring her back. Then it makes the show look like they do not let any deaths happen. Because now they've brought back so many characters to where if they bring back Laurel, death has no meaning. You can die and then get revived, no problem. Death is not even a consequence. We haven't had a serious death since Moira in Season 2, and before that, we had Tommy Season 1. Since then, we haven't really had any big deaths on the show. Unless you count Roy leaving. But again, that wasn't even a death. Because he was in this season of Arrow for an episode. But again, if they keep her dead, they will continue to get farther and farther and farther away from what Green Arrow is in the comic books. And the fan appreciation of the show will continue to go downhill. The death of Laurel could have possibly doomed the show unless they can think of a smart way to reverse it. And there was in that one episode the idea of that kind of teenage girl who could be a Black Canary. But again, that's not Black Canary. That's not Dinah Laurel Lance. And I feel without her presence on the show, no matter what they do, it will not be a show about the Green Arrow. So unless they find out a really smart way of bringing her back, and also we never heard what Laurel said to Oliver because of out of earshot. It could have been fake my death or something, but they need to think of something like that or a smart way to bring back Laurel, possibly, in order to save the show. Because fans have been very angry with this, myself included. Many of which who I know who have talked about this said, okay, I'm done with Arrow now. They killed off one of the best characters, and no matter what they do, they can't really fix it. Again, I have hope because I loved Arrow Season 1 and Season 2. And while they have a different showrunner and probably different writers, I still have faith in what the show could be. And I'm hoping that in Season 5 they can find a way to fix the mistakes they've made in now Season 3 and Season 4 to give us the best season of Arrow yet. Arrow is going downhill, and they need to do something big and fast in order to save it. Otherwise, it will not get to Season 7. Whew, glad to get all that off my chest. And again, everything that I just said, I said in the hopes that the Arrow showrunner and the writers can hear what the fans are wanting to say and their feedback so that they can fix Arrow and bring it to what it should be and could be. Because I want to see Arrow good again. I really do. In fact, I do plan on watching at least the beginning, depends how bad it gets, but at least the beginning of Arrow Season 5, just because I hope and I believe that there is a chance that they can fix what they did in Seasons 3 and 4 of Arrow, and I want to be there when it happens. You know, it's actually kind of funny how much I'm saying hope, because that was the big overwhelming theme of Season 4 was having hope. It's almost like the writers knew that the season was going to suck, but they wanted you to have hope that it would get better. Wait a second. Hope is 4 letters. This is Season 4 of Arrow. Stephen Amell has 4 vowels in his name. 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 12. Arrow has 5 letters. We're going into Season 5 of Arrow. Well, granted, it hasn't really been good since Season 2. Wait. 5 minus 2 is...